So today I'm going to run through with you what franchising actually is, 6 steps to consider if you're wanting to franchise your business, and also common mistakes you must avoid. So franchising is giving somebody else the license to use your brand. Now, you would have already set up a successful business. It's going really well. And this is an opportunity for somebody else to quite simply copy and paste what you've been doing in another area, in another location in the UK. Now, you're going to provide them with the training, the infrastructure, the support, the know-how of how to run the actual business. And in return, they're going to pay you a royalty. Now, this is usually a percentage of their turnover, or it could even be a flat fee. You, as the franchisor, will be able to expand your business quite rapidly through a franchising model, and you don't have to use all your capital to do it because your franchisees will be investing capital to help grow the business as well. So first up, you need to have a pilot operation. You're probably already running your business, hopefully a successful business, and the idea of a pilot is that you can replicate this in another location. You've got the opportunity to stress test the marketing, pricing, your product, your service. All the different aspects of running your business can be tested so that you know that it can then, but thereafter, be replicated in another location. Now, something really important to consider is that you are not involved in the day-to-day running of the business. Your pilot really does have to run without you at the helm, because when your franchisees come on board, they need to be able to run this business without you by their side. Now, one of the first steps you're going to want to take as a budding franchisor is to look at the numbers. I mentioned the pilot unit. This has to stack up financially for your potential franchisee. There has to be enough profit in that business that they can afford to pay their royalty to you, the franchisor, and also make sufficient profit for themselves. The other part of the puzzle is you, the franchisor. You will be receiving income from the franchisee in terms of a royalty. This could be anything from 3% to 10%, maybe even 15%, depending on the type of industry you are in. Now, at the beginning of your journey, you're only going to have a couple of franchisees, 1, 2, 3, first starting out. So, the money you're getting for your royalties isn't big money here, but what happens is as your network grows, you have 10, 20, 50, 100 franchisees. That's when the scale starts to take place, and that's when franchising gets really quite exciting. The other thing you must consider as well is the money it's going to take, the capital you're going to need to invest to actually get your franchise ready. You're going to need to invest in operational systems, legal agreements, lots of other things are going to need to be put in place so that your business is actually franchise ready. So you do need to make sure that you've got that funding in place at the very start. You're going to award your franchisee their own protected territory. Now, essentially, this is a map of the area that they probably live in, and it's where they're going to operate their business or where they're going to sell their products to their local market. Now, territory mapping is a really crucial part of the franchising process, and with your pilot, hopefully you've got lots of data from your customers, and that can really help identify how the maps are going to look in different areas. You can sort of profile your customer, profile where they live, and kind of work out from there how big your territories need to be. There are agencies out there, and there is different software solutions that can really help with this as well. And I think one thing to really consider is the size of the territory. You really don't want to get caught in the trap of just sort of drawing some Google Maps and sort of outlines. You really want to consider the size of your territory, because if you get it too big, you're going to miss out on opportunities. You don't want to be given away a territory that's the size of a county when it could be the size of a couple of towns, and you're going to miss out on a couple of franchise opportunities. Equally, you don't want your territories to be too small either, because your franchise owners aren't going to have the competitive commercial opportunity that actually they need for their business to survive. There's lots of legal agreements and things to consider when coming on board in a franchise. Now, the obvious one is the franchise agreement. It's really important this is actually done by a franchise lawyer. Don't be tempted to put it through ChatGPT. It's a very complex document that has to work for all the stakeholders involved in the agreement. But it's more than that. You also need to make sure you've got trademarks in place for your particular business. The last thing you want to do is start franchising only to realise that you haven't got a trademark in place and other people are popping up down the road replicating your business. Other things you want to consider as well are NDAs. You're going to need business plan templates. You're going to need prospectuses. There's lots of sort of documents that are going to need to be drawn up and put in place before you can get ready to press the button on recruiting your initial franchisees. Now, the founding principle of franchising is that other people are going to essentially copy and paste your business, your model, your infrastructure, and apply it in their own area. And this all gets documented in an operations manual. Now, operations manual sounds a bit boring, sounds a bit old school. It doesn't have to be a paper file. Nowadays, they tend to be portals. They're full of videos, user guides, downloads, quizzes, all sorts of ideas, if you like, to keep your franchisees up to speed with the operations of the business. Now, it's really important that everything gets documented in the operations manual. Anything that's left open to interpretation will be interpreted differently by different people, and that's going to really dilute your brand. So the operations manual side of things, it's really important to lock absolutely everything down. It's also a really useful tool for you when you're onboarding your new franchise owners. From day one, they're not going to know anything about the running of the business, so your operations manual really is their Bible to help them get set up, and also a great resource for them to keep dipping back into to make sure that they've got answers to all those questions and they're not knocking on your door. So you've done all the hard work, you've got the legal agreements in place, you've got all the operations manual built, your pilot has been a roaring success and really profitable. You're now turning attention to recruiting your initial franchisees. Now, when you bring your first wave of franchisees into your network, it's so super important, especially in the early days, that you get the right people involved in your business. They're really going to dictate the culture of what's to come and how it's going to grow. So you really want to get some really good people in through your network. It's also important to understand that recruiting franchisees is a two-way process. It's not a case of somebody coming up to you and just paying their fee and coming on board. You don't want it to work like that. You want people that are really invested in your brand, really understand what you're offering, really excited by your future growth and expansion. These are the people that you want in your business, and as such, you award your franchise to only the best candidates that apply, so to speak. So it is very much a two-way process when it comes to recruiting and onboarding your initial wave of franchisees. So there's some mistakes you definitely want to avoid when you're first franchising your business. And I think the first one is going too soon. I think it can be really tempting to have your business, it's doing really well, and let's franchise, let's go, let's roll out another business really, really quickly. And actually getting that pilot in place and stress testing every aspect of your business is super, super important. And if you go too soon, if you've got any chinks, if there's anything that's not quite right, if there's any niggles, they will be repeated in and throughout your entire franchise network. So the pilot is super, super important to get that right. I think any franchisors that I speak to that struggle, it is because they didn't get that pilot absolutely 100% before they rolled out their entire network. So I think number one is don't go too soon. Stress test it, get it right. The other thing is ongoing support and help with your franchisees. New franchisees coming into your business possibly have never run a business before. This is all new to them. They've possibly been employed, and it's quite a big mind shift going into running a business for the first time. So making sure there's lots of support available, whether that's support team members, whether that's the operations manual, files, videos, downloads, quizzes. Lots of support will really, really help your franchisees. You can't underestimate the level of support. The more you can give, the better they will be and the better you will be as a franchisor. And I think my last sort of tip, if you like, more than anything else, is mindset. When you franchise your business, you are no longer the entrepreneur, the operator. You are now the business coach, the mentor, the person that is leading your brand and building your network. And that there is a subtle mind shift there. Things are going to be different for you. You're not going to be necessarily even operating your core business anymore. It is very much going to be supporting your network and making sure everybody has got everything they need to grow their business. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found some useful information from today's video. We are going to be releasing more videos with more information about franchising your business and what to expect. Do subscribe to our channel so that you get those updates. And I've also dropped my LinkedIn details below. I'd love to connect with you.